This meeting is
Hello,
being recorded.
Hello.
how are you?
Good.
Look at you sitting outside and enjoying the weather.
Yeah, I'm at my in-laws' place. I have a wedding going to in
Oh,
Russian River. I don't know if you're familiar with the Bay Area. Um, but uh but yeah, I'm going to a wedding this weekend, and so I'm just making do right now.
oh, it looks rough, let me tell you.
No, it's definitely a nice it's a nice day out today, so it's good.
Yeah, give it a
How's the
month.
weather?
It's nice today, but give it a month or so, and it'll be 95 and humid, and you won't be able to go outside without
Yeah.
ear clothes sticking to you.
Yeah, I know that. I mean, I grew up in the DC area, so
Yeah,
summers were literally just. I mean, I used to play baseball, and a lot of summer baseball is just absolutely
oh, I
just.
can imagine.
Mm. We'll let people trickle in, and then we'll get started. My hope is that this is like a casual Friday meeting. We all can kind of just um, voice our own opinions and talk about our tech stacks and all that good stuff. So,
Sounds good.
hey, Kim.
Hello.
Hey, Alex. How's it going?
Hey, Brian. Doing great today. Glad it's Friday.
Yeah, glad it's Friday. Been a hell of a week. Remind me where you're based out of, Alex?
I'm in Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, that's right. Okay, now I
Yeah,
remember. Nice.
got a College of Charleston graduation is happening today. I just ran into some of that traffic.
That's fun. Did you go to Charleston or
I went to College of Charleston for undergrad, and then I went to University of Kentucky for law school.
nice? When did you graduate?
2006 from CFC.
Oh, got it. Cool. I dated a girl when I used to go to University of Maryland, and I graduated 2010, and I used to go down to Charleston all the time because I was dating a girl who lived or went to school there.
Oh yeah, very good place to visit in
Yeah.
college.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, hey. How's it going, Jeff?
Hey, how you doing?
All right. So I feel like we have a pretty solid mass now, so we can get started. The whole intent of this meeting, honestly, is just for us to like casually get together and talk about the different tech tools we're using, what our legal tech stack looks like, and through that sharing, hopefully, we all get to learn a little bit about what people like, what people don't like, and just voice our opinions a little bit. So I don't know if it will take the full hour. I mean, sometimes when we get talking, we can talk for more than an hour. So we'll kind of see how this whole thing shakes out. But people have been requesting that we do more of these kind of casual roundtable things because that's sort of really leveraging what is great about this community. So without continuing to just babble on, what I'll do is kind of tee up the topic. So I was thinking what we could do, and let me get out my notes on my phone. What we could do is go through like one of three different things, and people can kind of just chime in whenever they feel like they want to talk about something. So the three areas are either talk about a favorite tool within your tech stack that you love and you use and explain why. Um, talk about maybe something that you're using that you don't like and you want to warn people against, or talk about something that you really want to try out and see if other folk are either using that, or have heard good things about it. So I will kind of open up the floor in kind of classic show and tell fashion and let anyone chime in. I can obviously talk about certain things that I use, but I do enough talking around here, so I'll probably chime in the middle. But whoever wants to jump in, if you're thrilled about a certain thing that you're using, if you hate something and you want to vent about it, or if you really want to try something out and you want to hear what other people have to think about it.
Hey, I'll jump in. Just a kind of tool that I use. Um, our entire law firm, we have 5 attorneys and run a fractional legal team. So it's really fractional GC with kind of support behind it. But our entire practice runs off Monday.com. So I don't know if anybody else uses it. It's like Asana or Trello or one of those, but we've probably got 50 or 60 boards going at least. I don't do it. I've got staff that manages it, but it's an amazing tool if you've got some capacity to put stuff together and track it. It's been great for us. I used to be on Lawmatics. Everything was kind of all in one, but that got really buggy as they grew, and so I switched over about 15 months ago to my own to build our own stuff. But everything's kind of built around our Monday boards. So
Hey Jeff, what's the number, like what's the primary use case for Monday? Is it the project management where you can all see what's happening on a particular project?
it is. There's 2 primary. Project management is one. So all of our matters are in different boards. All of the assignments to different attorneys are out there. So project management is one. The other is onboarding. So all of our onboarding processes are built in. So leads, contacts, automations through Make and Jotform and Zoom and everything else. So people come into our firm through a tech stack of probably 12 to 15 different platforms all integrated together and hooked into Monday.
Very cool. Okay, I didn't know that second function.
It's been fantastic. So the simplicity of just say anytime I get a referral or anything, I just say, hey, give me some times if you want, but you can see my calendar on my website and book a call directly from there, and it's pretty easy. And 99 out of 100 people will do that.
I think we're trying to do a similar format. I'm more on the fractional GC side, so I won't sit here and say I'm doing a lot of client intake. My clients kind of are what they are. But we're using Slack actually, because Slack has built out this new functionality of lists and workflows. And I am very much of the opinion that I want less tech, not more tech. And so where I can sort of double up on tech, that's what I do. I'm a huge Monday.com fan. I was using them at a company about starting back in like 2018, 2019, when they were very much like a baby competitor to Asana at the time. But just for convenience sake of not having yet another tool to log into, I've been experimenting with Slack's functionality. And I really like it mostly because I feel like, especially where I'm connecting through Slack Connect with multiple clients, but may have like an email with them, that sort of thing. I feel like I can more easily collate everything into that singular tool, but I would definitely love to hear more about what others are doing. And I do this to like manage my workload. Some people I know Brian and Kimberly know this pretty well, but I have 2 companies, one that's a law firm for the fractional GC side and one that's a consulting company on the legal operations and go-to-market operations side of the house. So I just like being able to have like all the work that I'm working on and that my one associate is working on all in one place. So that way I'm not like having to constantly switch between two the way I am with email profiles.
Yeah, I recently discovered Slack lists and I love it because so much of the work is actually created on Slack because you're having a conversation and then all of a sudden that becomes a to-do item and you just hit add to list and then you can have your own kind of custom list, check a few things, and then it goes and do it like on those Kanban boards. Uh, I love that. So I'm with you. I don't know if it works for everyone, but I have a similar practice where I do fractional GC work for just a few clients, and it's been kind of a game changer just for the project tracking stuff. I don't know how much else I can like integrate with that, but it's been a game changer for me.
So hey Brian, on that, do you have like a HeyCounsel Slack instance you use and you have your clients click into that? Or do you have, so I mean, I am looking at my Slack thing and I have I have 6 Slack instances going on now.
Same.
How do you consolidate that? I know it's fun.
So I don't for that exact reason. I'm on different clients' Slacks,
Me too.
but
Yeah.
each Slack has its own, like if you go into like their Slack instance, you have your own list there. Some clients actually use my list so they can see what projects are in what stage. Some clients don't, but I still use it because I do it for my own peace of mind.
Yeah.
So
I've got a hacky version of almost like Streamline. Then
yeah.
have you ever played with that at all? Like Kathy's platform.
Actually really like the idea of using a list in each of them, which is not what I've been doing. I've been using my main like corporate one that's mine that I pay for to put everything just in one spot. And it's been like dual purpose because I want my manager on the operations side is not a lawyer, and so I need her to like be able to see like where the operations stuff sits in my queue because it's likely not number 1. It's probably like number 7. And I haven't found a good way of like doing that. But I really like, Brian, the idea of, but then I could just show it to my clients so they could easily see like the priority of things. Um, though I'm curious, like who sees that at the client? Because I feel like I have a lot of clients where like, I guess maybe the CFO and the CEO could see it, but there's just so much on there that like the commercial team should not be privy to from like employment and just other stuff going on.
Yeah, I think you can share it with either individuals or certain channels. So I think you can manage who has permission to view your list.
Got it.
But yeah, obviously that is like very specific for if your client doesn't use Slack, you can't really use that. And using something like Monday is something that you could control and then share with clients. So um, yeah, Slack is like the Slack list thing is very good if a lot of your work is happening within Slack. If not, I think you need to use something a little bit more applicable to more clients. I want to just go really quickly back to Jeff. You mentioned Lawmatics, and so this goes under for me, this goes under the category of things I've wanted to try. I've always really liked their approach of being more about growth and metrics and like they don't fashion themselves as like a practice management tool. They're more like they're a law firm growth tool with practice management features. So like how has your experience been with Lawmatics? Because we're on Practice Panther right now, and I want to get off Practice Panther. I hate them, but I'm looking for a replacement. Sorry if anyone uses Practice Panther, but I just haven't looked.
Practice Panther is my mother. How dare you?
I'm so sorry.
So we use Lawmatics mostly for onboarding. We didn't use it for managing cases at all. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but it was all the onboarding was the functionality that's all we cared about. So we didn't integrate Lawmatics with anything else even. It just was strictly onboarding.
Okay.
Newsletters, text, signatures, stuff like that.
Okay. Good to know.
Has anyone used High Level? for their, or go high level for their, for basically all the systems, especially the replacement Lawmatics. I know that they have the newsletter function. Okay.
I have not. Is that doesn't, it's not a legal specific tool?
No, it's not. Especially if you've got a membership site or a membership community type of thing. A lot of people really like high level for that because you can host videos and other resources.
Interesting.
Laurel, what were you about to say?
I'm just curious about, so what I've been thinking about from like a full like tech stack perspective is like intake to accounting and billing and everything related to that. And just been curious from like an accounting perspective. It seems like most accountants are just going to want you using QuickBooks for everything. And then we end up with sort of, I guess, an integration between whatever the accounting system is that we're really using and QuickBooks. And I'm just curious as to how folks are sort of managing that whole flow of things, especially I'm not using like a practice management system, and I absolutely refuse. I've never done so in my entire career, so I don't see a reason to do so now. But I've been thinking about it from the perspective if I do use Google Drive, sometimes I sync with my client's Google Drive. I'm sure, Jeremy, you and I have pretty similar situations where then you're also using the client's Google Drive folder, and I'm limited on my
and
yeah,
SharePoint
and all
now.
of them. And I'm limited, like you can only connect to your desktop for Google Drives, and I have 6 of them that I need to sync to. And so I've just been trying to think through like a better way of doing things versus what I sometimes end up doing, which is like saving it to my desktop and then having to drag and drop it into like client folder systems because I can't have access to 6. And so I'm just thinking from like a full stack perspective, like how people are handling this who are not using a practice management system. And whether it's just the pain of being a fractional GC and I just got to suck it up until somebody creates something that fixes it.
Laurel, did you and I talk about DocSum when we chatted last? Did you check that one out yet?
I don't know that we chatted about that.
Someone else in the community recommended it to me, but it is, I haven't been able to get it like implemented yet anywhere because it's, I mean, it's not that expensive. It's like, I think starts at $7.50 a month per like it is, at least it's been the best thing I've seen to be able to quickly sort through and manage like multiple repositories at once. You can basically log into your Box, your Dropbox, your Google Drive into one spot, and then it'll colon search for you, and you can do searchable filters. You can, if you're looking at a bunch of commercial contracts, Shaz, it's DocSum, DOCSUM. But I was shocked how easy it was to just play with. And unfortunately, they're very much still in build mode. So there's a lot of things. Oh, we're working on this. We're going to do that next. But at least initially, it was a very cool platform to look at.
Okay. Yeah, no, we did
actually,
talk about this one.
Yeah,
I thought it was more contracts. That was.
I mean, like just like repository as well. Like when I talked to them, I was looking at mostly for repository purposes. It looks like they've actually in the last 2 months shifted more towards more of a contract management platform. But I wanted to just use it so I could go in and search in a very like user manner and then filter, and it was good.
Gotcha. That was why I had I looked at it and then I was like, I don't need a CLM. I need something that just is like Google. I don't know. Like I can access everything all in the same place for all of my Google Drives.
Yeah. I think this
which you just can't because of and I know part of it is I keep every client as a separate Chrome profile. So that's like my own doing, but I do that to keep my
Have you
sanity.
color-coded yours too?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
Based on their logos, because that's what I did. To the extent they're good. Yeah.
To the extent it was possible, yes, because I feel like everybody likes blue.
Yeah.
But yes.
So I think I came here for something more related to so I'm a solo firm. I don't know how many other folks are here at that, and I just do fractional general counsel. So I'm real small, real niche. And so it's more of how do I and sorry, I'm a little sick. I have to get over the fact it's not allergies and I'm sick. Um but how to make more of out of just me, right? So research stuff, I've been using ChatGPT and Claude are kind of my go-tos between like quick questions, quick drafts of ideas of things. My time management right now and billing is all pretty manual because I haven't found anything that is like the easiest or everything seems to be more robust for big teams. And again, it's just me. So I just didn't know if people had ideas for things that it's not a big team. And so I don't need a ton, but some automation and help would just be easy. It just
Or
keeps coming up.
I'll say for time and billing, if it's just you and it's pretty simple, and as a fractional GC, most of mine are even are flat fee monthly subscriptions. But I would recommend FreshBooks. Take a look at that. It's really good for invoicing and whatnot, just to make it easy to do that part of it, right? I like the professional looking invoices. You can put attachments, you can add your W-9 to it, things like that you'll need to just make life easier.
I second that.
There's LawPay as well. LawPay is pretty good for invoicing.
Yeah, I use LawPay to collect, but not to actually send out anything that's got like an hourly bill type of deal.
I second QuickBooks or FreshBooks. I've been using FreshBooks for years, and I love it. It's great for keeping track of time. It's great for sending out invoices. My accountant loves it because I'm able to send a nice clean P&L, and I've never had any issues with it. You're able to keep track of your expenses. You can download from your bank accounts and credit cards right into FreshBooks very easily. It integrates with Stripe. I have nothing bad to say about it.
So the only thing I would say is it doesn't do a great job with any trust accounting, right? So if you've got that, then it can be an issue. Brian, yes, it's mostly a one-to-one replacement because it can do accounting, it can do invoicing, and then they have integrated like merchant services. I think but they moved to Stripe recently. I liked it better when it was Chase. But overall, FreshBooks will be great if you're a very small firm. So low to maybe 3 people. Beyond that, you need to upgrade to QuickBooks, right? Just things get more complicated, and FreshBooks isn't. They are a time and billing invoicing solution. They've added on accounting, and they're just limited in the way that works.
In terms of,
if you are doing trust accounting, thus far I've been happy with QuickBooks and Lean Law. The way Lean Law overlays QuickBooks and handles the trust side of everything, it seems to work pretty well. It's an additional subscription, but if you're kind of in that requirement, it seems to work pretty well.
Yeah, I want to add that as a caveat. As a corporate attorney who doesn't, the way I do my practice, I don't really need to do trust accounting, so I don't have that complexity with my practice. If that was a big part of my practice, I might be considering using QuickBooks or another software solution.
I do use QuickBooks. I have a really small practice so far, but I have recently used QuickBooks to figure out the trust accounting issue, and it took me some hours to figure out how to do it, but I think I have it right. So, but a lot of people probably don't need to mess with doing that manually. I'm not sure everyone does on that, but that's how I work it.
Yeah, I would say that if you do have trust accounting, go ahead and invest one in a true law practice management system. You need it. The other thing is that you cannot use QuickBooks for your merchant services to take your credit cards because of the way that where they deposit and take fees out of, you will not be in compliance with your trust accounting. I'll talk about that more next week.
I was thinking about that.
Well,
because the
that's
one
where
instance I've used, it was just a check.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's coming into your operating account, you'd be fine. But if it's anything that has to go directly to your trust account, you would have issues.
If you do have to do the trust and you do the QuickBooks and lien law, they integrate with the Confident Legal for the payment processing, so you can remain compliant.
Yeah, you just can't use it directly through QuickBooks, like QuickBooks Merchant Services. You have to go through another provider. I use LawPay for mine, but I also don't have trust accounting.
And aside on LawPay, just because I found this very strange and somewhat scary, I had to cancel a LawPay account. They did almost no verification of who I was when I canceled it. So be wary of whatever their security precautions are. They basically said, "What's your firm name?" And the next thing I did was canceled. So
if
fair warning.
If you have competition, you can cancel their LawPay account, basically.
Maybe.
Hi, everyone. I'm new. My name is Valentina. I fell into the marketing trap and I signed up for Clio and they gave me some free time. So I've been experimenting, but I think it's incredibly complex. I don't think I need most of what it has, and I'm curious what everybody else's input is, if they've tried it or not.
Back at a law firm years ago, I feel like it's more of like a bigger firm, use case. I mean, I'm still, I've been trying to figure out this. I'm still just doing Google Sheets and Bill.com because I don't have any trust account issues. I'm just doing pretty clean invoices every month. And it's, the only annoying thing is half of my clients are using Bill.com, using Ramp.com, Hamper, so I get like notifications every which way, like how I'm getting paid. But I've even thought about just using Mercury, which I use for my bank, as my invoicing service, because they now offered that. Has anybody tried that yet?
So I just tried, and maybe I just haven't figured it out. I put in a help request. My issue with Mercury invoice was I hit a limit on how many lines I could add to my invoice. Like I couldn't add more. I went, well, there's more days in the month.
Do they allow attachments? Because usually I just do an attached, PDF to my invoices for time entries.
Yeah, so I was trying to work around not just attaching basically my Google Sheet. I wanted to just have like the slick invoice, since you can do an invoice straight through it. But otherwise it's pretty simple, but actually making it straight through Mercury without just attaching my sheet doesn't look like that's an option. But otherwise it's pretty simple.
If I could stop paying.
I've been using Zoho, which is not legal specific, but it's pretty you can add on different things, and I feel like it has everything, right? Like you can set up Stripe, you can set up credit card, you can do all of that. You can set up payroll technically through it, though I don't use it for my payroll services. And from that perspective, I do like that, like all my timesheet billing is in there. And then when I go to spin up invoices, you can just insert the time from there and it does the automatic calculations. There's definitely stuff I don't love about it, which is why I'm like keep hoping somebody's going to tell me there's something better out there, but I just haven't found it, because I feel like I have the best of QuickBooks, and like Zoho, in my opinion, works if it's just you. I have been running into issues on the consulting side where there's two of us, because I do discounting if like you hit a certain number of hours per person and stuff like that. And I haven't been able to set up like rules so it applies that, which means I'm literally going through running a report at the end of the month for each client to figure out which discount tier they've hit and then manually going through each entry on the discount lines and doing like 5, 10, 15, right? Whatever it happens to be. So that's the one issue I have there. But yeah,
It seems
I,
like
I like
there's
that it's
almost
all
like
in one.
it seems like there's like a decision tree that like we all like would flow through where it's like, is it just you? Yes. Okay. Do you do trust accounting? Yes, no. And like you can kind of get to the solution or group of solutions that's right for you and kind of get directed away from things that don't have the right level of features. Like Mercury and Zoho, et cetera, probably work really well, and even FreshBooks to a certain extent. If you're like a solo lawyer, or maybe solo plus support staff, uh, and you don't do trust accounting, and then like the second you add on trust accounting, okay, back up. Now you kind of have to have some sort of practice management tool, and or QuickBooks with something layered on top like lien law. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to think like maybe there's like some sort of flow chart or decision tree I can kind of spin together based on all this information that could be helpful. But to your question, Valentina, I'm curious what your law firm is like structured as and what type of work you're mainly doing, and do you do trust accounting, and maybe that's why Clio might be the right fit.
I don't have any trust accounting. The rep reached out. I was interested in their CRM tools because that's specifically what I was going to sign up for. There's going to be a lot of digital marketing I'm launching in a couple months, and they had promotions that came along with some of the ads that they could run and integrations on leads, and that aspect of it was really appealing. So if I was using that, then the document management, the billing coming along with it seemed to make sense, and it didn't seem like a lot. But from what I'm hearing, there are other options that are a lot more affordable, and maybe it's just a bit too much for the size I'm at right
Yeah, I think Clio definitely has all the bells and whistles, and it's like the option you can't necessarily go entirely wrong with, but it may just be that you're overpaying and you have access to too many things that you don't use.
What is the payment for Clio? Because I think that's the thing that like gets me is right, like is it really that expensive or is it not much more and it's just I'd accept that I'd only use 30% of it?
now. Comparatively, I think it's significant. People here are talking about like something around like $10, $15 a month. I think it's like 150 is a promotion that I
Okay, that's a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, I think if you do monthly, the Zoho subscription I have, if I take away the fact that I'm in Chicago and get hit by the freaking Illinois software tax, is $50 a month, which I feel like it's my time in billing and my accounting system. And I'm like, that seems reasonable enough to me because I think you'd spend $50 a month on both of them.
But is anybody doing like heavy CRM like management, like just intake automation on that front and has a resource for that they supplement with, or is this more
We do that through Zoho too. So I can do all of that through there. Again, it is, and I will sit there and tell you, like, you're going to look at this and be like, it's Salesforce 1996. Like, it is not a sexy looking platform, but like nobody sees this and it adds my logo to invoices. They're clean, right? You could send it through the system. I don't, right? Like, and it can, if you send it through the system, it can have like links for ACH and all of that. I don't because most of my clients are using other things. So I tend to do it a little bit more manually, but technically it's all there. I just have chosen not to use that.
I do want to say on the Clio pricing, a lot is going to depend on how many of the different modules you have. Right. So if you've got manage, you've got grow, you've got the accounting, the PI, like all of the different modules, and those add up over time. So that may be because I think 150 that for just one user, because that seems kind of high.
Yeah, it's all the digital marketing stuff that I added on.
Oh, okay.
So it's like there's leads integrations, there's like all sorts of things that are being worked on in the back end that I think it'd be very useful on that client acquisition point to track the relationships because of the volume that I anticipate. But if there's something else, then by all means, yeah.
And I'm a big fan of if you're planning on growing, of getting your systems in place that will grow with you. right? And Clio will grow with you to a pretty good size. I'm not convinced yet that they've got that medium size firm, even though they market it a lot. But I think most firms kind of tap out. But you can get a very good size on Clio.
Thank you.
So yeah, if growth is your stuff, I think a lot of, like, especially the fractional GCs, we're not really talking about lots of clients, lots of CRM things. So Clio doesn't make as much sense.
Yeah, that was basically why I ruled out Clio. I was like, I feel like this is meant for solos who are like expecting to be getting a new client at least every week, not like one client every 6 months, where I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll just type it into my little system and spend 10 minutes and be fine,
Yeah. And then I will say that I have thought about making a high level, like a white label high level that's just for law firms. For the smaller ones that want a lot of those things, because you can get it at reasonable prices. So I don't know. I'll let you know if that comes to fruition.
Any tools so there's like a side chat going on with Christian talking about sort of like LLMs and some of the AI stuff. Anyone have experiences with certain AI tools that they want to highlight? And I don't know, Christian, maybe you can dive into kind of what you were discussing on the chat as well, just to tee that up.
Yeah, I think a common problem these days is there's so many different models that can do so many different things, right? And I found myself over the last couple of months just having to jump between platforms a million times, and it's exhausting. And so for that first problem, there's a couple of things I recommended in the chat. There's a couple of platforms out there that are completely free. So these are open source platforms that give pretty easy no code installs, and you can hook it up to where you can talk to different LLMs for different purposes. So like, I'll just try to show you guys real quickly. I'm sending a request to you, Brian. Perfect. We are, so like this here, this one's called Anything LLM. It's essentially, if you think about like how ChatGPT's custom GPTs work, where you can go in and create a knowledge base and be able to chat with your documents and all of that, you have that functionality here. But what makes it different is you have complete control over what LLM providers you use. So you can integrate multiple LLM providers into this platform for different use cases. So like what we were looking at here in the beginning, I have two different use cases here. This one's in a query mode, so I use a ChatGPT LLM, but the way it's set up is it only provides answers based off of the documents that are in its context. So only based off of things that I've uploaded it here. So you can kind of control what it uses as a reference. It doesn't use any outside information, but still use the power of whatever LLM you find most favorable for your use cases. So these things are out there. This is literally a desktop download. If you go to the website I sent to you, you can download it to your desktop, and you can keep it as local as you want to. So you can use third-party LLMs and send out those calls, but you could also trigger off of any local LLM, a lot of the stuff through Olama or Hugging Face. And so this gives flexibility. I have a lot of clients that this is where they kind of get started with users doing things, is they'll hop on a platform like this and be able to do that. The other one that came to mind is the second big problem I keep seeing is, okay, once you've got an LLM that can do something, you need to do something with the output, right? It's not like you get it in the chat and then it just moves on to the next thing. And so what that means to me is a lot of people are trying to figure out, how do I automate some of my workflows now? Now, if I've got an LLM that I've given it a brain, how do I put the tools around it so it can actually replace some of the stuff that I have to do? And so a platform like this is called N8N. Again, this is a free open source platform for your base level. If you're, a bigger firm or an enterprise level and need extra levels of security, you can pay for an account. but there's a certain level of executions that you can do for free every year or every month on the system already. And it lets you do things like start integrating. So emails and Slack are common triggers for people's workflows, especially when you're a solo. A lot of times you're managing it from those things, right? So this system here allows me to use those as triggers. Anything that happens in those, if I get an email, if I get a message to a Slack account, use that as a trigger to push it through an agent. I can pick whatever model I want. Here I've got it hooked up to Anthropic, and then I can give this agent a whole bunch of integrated tools to do something with it. So this one, just as an example, this is my Outlook agent. So when I get an email back, or if I want to write an email, I can actually just send a Slack message by voice, and it'll go write the email and put it in drafts for me. So I'll show you just like how that works. We're going to do it as a chat real quick, but
So this is free, Christian?
this version right here is free. The personal version, if you're just running it yourself, completely free. If you go to a cloud or enterprise level, you can, there's like, I think it's like $50 a month, I think is what it gets up to.
Gotcha. That's what I was trying to figure out. I was trying to find the personal version.
Yeah.
It's just through GitHub.
So here, you can kind of see it as the animation works, but not only with this platform are you able to set up automations like this, you have complete visibility on how it works. So here it's going through, this would be your chat interaction that you're having with it, either in Slack or through a website or something, however you set it up. So I asked it to write this message, it does, but over here, I can see everything that it did. I can see where the AI agent called the model, it used Outlook tool to go get my contacts, it pulled the current date, it drafted that email, and now it's saying that email should be ready in my draft folder. See if it's here. Well, I said it should be. It's not in there. Usually it just pops over into this draft folder, so I'll have to look and see why I didn't. But those are the type of automations that you can go ahead and set these up for free. And I think that's where a lot of attorneys are. You know, I think especially in this group, people that have used these tools over and over in different spaces, now we're at, okay, how do we make it where I can duplicate myself to some extent? How do I make it where I can manage 6 Google Drives or something like that? And that's where, you know, Laura, when you were talking about all the different Slack channels, that's where things like this come into play, because the way you set these up is it triggers off of a channel, right? So you can set it up on a specific channel and it only takes action when you get a specific message on that channel. But you can have one set of responses that happen tied to those different channels. And you can just start to layer these automations in a whole lot of different ways. And I think that's where a lot of attorneys are. I've probably been spending about 8 months now in this, and it's definitely the most common thing to build out for attorneys. Things as simple as creating draft emails automatically for them to as complicated as tying into different timekeeping systems. So like Harvest, I know there's a lot of people out there that use Harvest. This actually can tie right into that for timekeeping purposes. So there's just some really cool platforms that are out there that if you are willing to put a little bit of time in or find somebody to help you with, you can get set up and work really cool. Last one, and then I'll turn it over. But there's one now that I'm finding very useful. It's that last one called, I think it's Misty. What I like about this one is it's the first time I've seen where you can do side-by-side chats of different models. So if I'm trying, I do a lot of time testing different models that say, okay, how is this one doing compared to this one? And so I end up having to flip between these. Here, I can actually tie it up to all of the models that I have an API key for and watch them all work at the same time. And so, you know, that these aren't tied to the internet, so they have different cutoff dates. So I can see how they work. Then I can go back, I can give it internet connection and then see what happens. And so this is really cool, I think, going forward for attorneys that are having to jump between or don't know which model is giving them the best answer. You can add multiple here, do a comparison, and have it run that same query across all of them instead of having to do it in multiple platforms. And again, this is another free platform out there. So I think you're going to see a lot of these, and it's really, to me, you probably just need to, if you're going to pick one and get comfortable with it. But having the ability to, one, talk to multiple models in one platform, and then two, supplement it with your own knowledge by adding in, like here, you can add in a knowledge stack. I keep all my AI articles loaded into this and chat with it when I'm writing updates and stuff for different things. Any of these platforms really give you that capability. You've got the same thing here. You can upload your knowledge base and be able to chat with it. And that, to me, being able to control it and being able to get an expected output is something that I think solo and small firms don't get from big platforms, right? It's not catered to you. These platforms can be as catered as you want them to be.
Yeah, just looking at all the integrations that these ones have.
Yeah, I think it's
Especially
400 plus, I think, is where they're at today, which it's the most I've seen. I'm not a big fan of Make or Zapier. That's how I kind of found these guys, because I was having too many issues and it was costing too much money to try to use those other two platforms. This platform is way easier. I found it more intuitive, but also a lot of the law firms I work with, they need it to be deployed on-prem. They can't use cloud because of regulations. You can actually deploy this on-prem and run it on their own server. So that it's a big plus for anybody that needs to run it private. And a lot of them want to use local models too. They don't want a model that goes out in the public at all. And this gives you that full flexibility.
I imagine like a lot of so these like legal specific vertically integrated AI tools like Harvey, like GCAI, they're running multiple models. They're running the best model for the task at hand, and then they're slowly building their own integrations with other tools like potentially your email, and I'm sure like they're looking into things like that, Slack, whatever. So what you're showing is basically if you wanted to use sort of these like open source, lower cost tools to build those things yourself, or like versions of those things yourself, you could do it. Obviously, it comes with like the expense and cost of like setting it up and maintaining it versus like basically giving the keys to a Harvey or a GCAI to build what they think is kind of like the right path. So like there's two different approaches, I guess, to leveraging AI, and you're showing more of you're in the driver's seat, you're making decisions on what it does, what it integrates with, and you're responsible for maintaining everything versus paying another SaaS company essentially to do that.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I think that's what any of the legal tech companies are trying to capture, right? Because if they get the workflow right to where they're able to capture the work you're doing, but just get you the output, then that platform is going to capture you, right? They do become an integral part of being able to scale yourself. I think what's unique about doing it yourself, though, like if you break it down to that N8N, is the level of granularity you have control both over the data and what can happen along the lines. Like when you work with Harvey, no matter how good of a workflow they develop, at some point you're going to hit a wall where it only works so well for your specific use case. You're going to have to do something to either customize the workflow or customize the output after you get out of it. A system like this, when you're building a practice yourself, in my mind, you can build that same workflow yourself through the system, use the same tools they have access to. You just need to figure out what exactly it is you want it to do. Because I worked with Harvey for about a year and a half. What they really want to try to figure out is what do the enterprise level firms want so bad from a workflow perspective that once they get it, they'll never be able to stop using Harvey, right? They just have to be on that platform constantly. And they're providing tons of workflows based off of feedback and different use cases with different firms. But at the end of the day, what I think I've seen across all platforms is there's a level of customization that comes with each one of our work, right? It's a little bit different. That's what makes it so hard to systematize some of this work. Is every one of us on this call does our work a little bit different with some overlaps in areas that we have in common, but you're always going to want to have a little bit of control. And so as I think about building out a kind of the future practice for myself, I want more control over that workflow. And that seems to be the wall I hit with every one of these companies, whether you're talking about Lexis and Protege, or you're talking about Harvey, or you're talking about Robin AI or any of the other CLM systems out there. is you just hit a point where you need to do something else, and you either physically have to do it or you have to find a way to integrate with your system. And I think as we start to build our own from the bottom up, we can really rethink that. Because I like to Val's point earlier, I think Clio is overkill for the majority of the people that are on this call. For what you're getting, you're just not going to use all those functions. It doesn't mean there are some functions that are integral to what you're doing, but finding a way to kind of build that tech stack yourself, I think we're at a unique time where solos and small firms can build a tech stack that can be competitive without just paying for the big platforms. And I think that's an exciting time for me, at least.
There's actually on that point, so Ryan Giuliano, he actually, and this goes to what Jeff just put in the chat. I think he built out his practice management using Notion, because he used some vendor who was able to kind of build this thing out, and then there's an upfront cost with them building it, and then I think they pay like a very small monthly fee compared to like these SaaS tools that we're used to. And he loves it, and he's run a pretty kind of like not large, but like in terms of volume, high volume practice. So I do think that and a couple other people have done the Notion path, and so I do think that there's a way to use a Notion or similar type of tool to run sort of like the practice management side of things. I don't know how many things that reaches, like how does it plug into accounting? Does it handle kind of like the true CRM marketing type stuff, project management stuff? I don't really know. And maybe we should do like a show and tell where like he comes on and shows how his kind of like built from the ground up Notion instance works. But yeah, just to kind of touch on that point, I think and Jeff, sounds like you have some sort of insight into those types of Notion tools being used for CRM purposes.
I think that overstates what I know about Notion.
Okay.
Brian, I was just going to say, because you brought up Notion, I think that's another great example. So looking at N8N, anybody that's familiar with working with Notion, just think about all the actions that you take in there at any given point, whether you're manually putting them or they're tied into another system. Any of those actions can be tied into one of these workflows, right? So you've got certain triggers on a page being added to a database or updated. It can trigger a workflow from Notion. But then any of the things that you normally do, get database, update pages, create users, get user information. That's the integration, I think, that could change the way you practice, is the way I see it. And that's what I've talked to the clients that I'm kind of working with to put the stuff in place. Is I think this is, until there's a platform that can do these things for attorneys, and I don't think there is one today that integrates this well. I think for a lot of attorneys, this is, if you're looking for ways to duplicate yourself, this is what you're looking for. Side note, if you wanted to see the email, it looks like it was just the internet was delayed, but that was the email that when I asked it, just create that email. So I use this basically. Every email I get, there's a draft with some filters. It filters out some emails, but there's a draft that just goes into my draft inbox. So I usually do emails like twice a day and just go through my draft inbox and send like 10, 15 emails at a time, make some edits, go on and go forth. But that automation just runs in the background anytime I get an email in that meets the requirements I've set, it runs, or anytime I send it a message by Slack, or if I'm chatting with it through this interface on my computer, I don't even go type my emails out anymore most of the time. That's usually how I'm interacting. So
have you checked out privacy privilege type of issues to make sure that it's going to be good for us?
That's why I use this. So all of your permissions are tied to your individual application. So there is it's not pulling or saving any of it. It's all through those direct authorizations. So like when I go to my Outlook, you'll have different credentials that you put in, and basically it ties directly in through OAuth to your Microsoft account or whatever it is. And then, as I mentioned before, if you have high level of security needs, you can run this on-prem. So like this version is just running on my computer. And it doesn't, all of my requests or anything only go out to models that I want it to go out to, where I know it's going out. Otherwise, I filter out like PII of anything, so it doesn't run through. That that's the exact problem that I feel like so many attorneys run into is you need a level of control that you can't necessarily have without, redacting things to upload it into ChatGPT, even if you feel like you've got a good secure account, or even just tying your email to them, right? So many of them are integrating with email accounts now, but just giving it full-fledged access to every email, people are worrisome about that. I think these tools give you another level of control there, and that at least makes me feel better.
And can you like save the workflows and like export them and like import them into like either like another machine?
Yeah, so they can all be saved in JSON format. So let me see. I've got a whole bunch of them here. So that one was just kind of a template that you're looking at. So like this one for people that use QuickBooks, it's integrated with QuickBooks, so it can do all of these different QuickBook functions. So if I send it an invoice by email or through Slack, it can go through and add that to a customer or update a particular vendor. Any of those functions that you think about QuickBooks having, basically it's got all of the employee, bill, item, all those different functionalities just built in here. And it really is just a matter of hooking up the credentials and then testing it and making it work in the background. And then once it's there and you put it active, it automatically runs. And then you have full visibility, like every execution you can see. So I track every execution that runs on them. And if one fails for some reason, I get an alert and I can go in and see what happened and try to fix the workflows. But yeah.
And it looks like you're on Outlook. So this is a very maybe detailed question, but I use a lot of shared boxes that don't have full licenses. Like, like an AP at springboardlegal.com, right? Can this agent get those shared boxes as well?
Yeah, I think as long as you can sign in, you have your own Microsoft login for it, it can pull from any of them. And then any of these workflows, you can insert filters too. So like I'll use the Outlook sometimes, but I'll filter out. I don't ever want it to, process this type of email or something from this sender. So I do a lot of that as well. So if you've got special inboxes like that, it just gives you that ability of sending it down 2 paths instead of it having to be processed every time.
Nice.
Same with any functionalities you use. So it does it in Gmail as well. So I know I'm showing Outlook here, but you can do it in Gmail as well. There's a couple other email services it's integrated with, but what's really nice about it, like I said, you can download these. I can duplicate them and drop them into somebody else's account. So a lot of my clients, they'll just pay me for one. They're like, hey, I just want the email one. Can you just get that set up for me? So I set up their N8N account, drop it in there, hook up their credentials, make sure it's processing the way they want it to, and then turn it on and show them how that works. And that's a start for a lot of attorneys, their journey down kind of AI automation. To me, this is really what you're really talking about here is just automation, but now you can introduce agents into, and that's what you couldn't do before is you didn't have a brain that could think, you could apply a bunch of rules, but now you have a brain that you can both control and that can do a lot of cool things with different tools.
Can I just quickly change subjects with the last 2 minutes? Because I know there's been a little bit of talk around the new GCAI drafting tool, and I'm actually just really curious for anyone who has used it, how that has been going and how it compares to what's out there. Because I currently use Spellbook, but I it's one of those things that I'm just interested in and think that's where a lot of cool improvements are happening.
I think that there is a lot of improvement that needs to be done at a basic level. And what I mean by that is like application of the red lines, right? So right now there's a bug going on where if like you had a sentence, it doesn't matter what the word is, but it's word period, and you need it now to be word comma because it's going to insert something, it crosses off that word, retypes it, because it connects the word and the punctuation is like one thing. So the change, right, it does it that way, which is not like if you're a lawyer, how we would redline it. So there's that sort of quirkiness because it is still in beta, right? They haven't launched it in GA yet. I do think they have recently launched that you can get to your prompts from it. And what I've started doing is where I've really had great prompts that I love, like reviewing an NDA that it used to give me like a table. I've been tinkering with my prompts to have it do a red line of that. And I will say that that has now definitely been cutting down the review time in half, even if I have to copy and paste the edits right now because I don't trust the application. So once they get the apply function to work as well as like Spellbook and others do, I do think it's game changer.
Interesting. So you almost would be able to you'd be able to create a playbook of sorts within the GCAI web app
Yeah.
and then reference that as you're editing within Word.
Yeah, so like I've just right now I'm starting really simple. I've been doing it with NDAs, but like I had basically an NDA prompt that I use to review client NDAs when they want me to just like then be able to quickly, like I had been doing it in the GCAI app, and then I would, make the revisions there. So now I'm revising those prompts, and for some clients, right, I have like my standard NDA one that I use for like clients who don't really have special requirements. And then for some clients, I have like their specific prompt that I use. And so I'm finding that like what was taking me end to end from like download beginning like 8 minutes to do an NDA is like down to like 6 minutes. And so my hope is, and maybe I will talk more Christian about as I'm fumbling around right now with N8N, like eventually if there's a way to integrate it, so like an NDA comes in and it does it, maybe it's like a 3-minute process, right? Because I see no value in NDAs and I don't want people paying me for them. But my hope is over time with like client standard docs, that are more complex, like you can start to build it out to be doing a lot more of that first round associate review. And then changing the way we bill because of it,
Yeah, it's inevitable. Interesting. I found one of the weird quirks with Spellbook is like it takes like the least the path of almost like least resistance when drafting, in that like it drafts much like a robot and not like a human. So it'll take
yes.
letters from certain words and just combine them as if you ran a compare versus like a true red line where you're like removing whole words and adding whole words. And so I find that like when I run even like a small red line, like I'll ask it to change something pretty simple within one clause, it'll draft it as if like you ran a compare on that one spot, and I don't like that because then I like to change it and make it look like a human, even if it's just an optics thing. I don't want people thinking, oh, this person just ran this thing through a machine, because it does kind of give off this like maybe they didn't really look that closely, even though you are looking at it obviously. So I don't know. I find like the style, like, a lot of the style issues with using Spellbook are kind of annoying because I always have to like revise it to make it look as if I did the red line.
I
Versus
dumped my Spellbook subscription like 6 months ago because of that. I gave them feedback. I go, you draft like a lawyer who hasn't left 1996 and I can't stand it. And if you'd like give me another here to wherewith blah blah, add the to onto these words in archaic speak, like I'm just going to lose my mind. I said, because that's not how I draft. And I said, you basically are just making things appear like they're legal language by adding language, that sort of like words to it, which is why I think a lot of people who aren't lawyers think that it's really good. And I'm like, no, it just added a bunch of here tos.
I don't have as much an issue. Maybe they've improved over the last 6 months. Like I find like I have a decent amount of control because the prompting, I mean, I do it very specific on certain like clauses and will try to be detailed in my prompts. And yeah, I mean, I get bad results and good results. I think overall like, it cuts time down, which is really what I'm aiming for. But yeah, I need to try GCAI's drafting. I've only been using Spellbook, so I don't really have a good lay of the land. Yeah, I think I got to jump too. Awesome. I'm gonna put notes together for all this and send it out so we have a little bit of a recap. But I'd like to do this on a monthly basis just to give everyone sort of like a refresher on what people are using and what people like. So yeah, stay tuned for the next one.
Thanks, Brian.
See y'all.
Bye.
Bye.